Hi, welcome to Slick WIlly Fly, and today what we're going to do is a polar bunny. So we have two variants. I have this variant where the Zonker strip lands on top of the polar chenille, and then I do a separate variant where I wrap polar chenille and the Zonker is only the tail. And they're both great, super effective. This one is with silly legs, this one is without silly legs. But it all works, and super simple to tie. This is an absolute typical Slick WIlly fly in that it's very few materials and super easy to tie. So let's talk materials. We have 3mm Zonker strip. In this case, it's orange barred, but the earlier one that I showed you here is just a straight shrimp pink, and I have a ton of different colors. Another great material that when you purchase a package like this, I mean, you make a lot of flies out of this package. Great material. I'm using a little bit of polar chenille. In this one, I have just used brown over the pink. And in this one, I blended orange and brown. So, well, here's my orange and here's the brown that I was using. Not really sure if I'm going to blend or not really sure what I'm going to do. I think what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to use the orange barred Zonker and the brown polar chenille, but I'm going to go ahead and put some silly legs. I got a bunch of silly legs here. There we go, some orange barred, orange barred silly legs. So for the hook, I'm using SC15, which I don't use a lot of Gamakatsu hooks, but I really like this shape. This is probably, if I'm not using a mustad hook, this is probably the hook that I like the best. And I'm going to use one Dumbell eye in brass. This one is green with a black pupil. And I just think it's nice to mix and match colors. And I guess that's it. A little UV resin and 140 denier thread. So take another sip of our cocktail. Let's go ahead and change the camera angle and let's tie a fly. Alright, so right before we get started here, why don't you go ahead and take a moment to hit that like and subscribe as I go and put a base of thread on this hook. And the very first thing I'm going to do once I have this base on is I'm going to go ahead and put the Dumbell eye on. And the Dumbell eye location, I've been using my Dumbell eyes basically as a guide. I just put them on there, and I think that length of the Dumbell eye is it's a great spot to just naturally set the eyes. I go ahead and check that I like the way they look. And I do. And now I'm just doing a bunch of wraps in each direction. Like usual, I don't count, and once I'm happy with that, then I do these figure eights just to crank everything tight. Get my thread out of the way. And now I'm going to give it just a little touch of my super glue. Okay, so we have the Dumbell eyes attached now. So now it's time to attach the Zonker strip. Excuse me, I had to have another sip of my cocktail. So we need to establish a length. And the length, I want the Zonker strip to end between the eyes. So the length is going to be right about where my fingers are. That's where I need to punch through the Zonker strip. So I just use my fingers as a guide, and I'm going to carefully punch right down the center. And once I have that spot, then I'm going to go ahead and pull this out of the vise so I don't stab myself. And now, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this or not. I'm going to try. I'm going to carefully just punch it through the skin, just like that. Perfect. So now I can put it back in the vise. Making sure I'm somewhat straight. I'm going to give it the correct orientation because this fly will ride hook up, and that landed pretty much exactly the way I wanted it to land. Now I can attach my Zonker. I could trim off that tag, but I can wait a second to do that. I'm going to go ahead and bring back about halfway. You don't have to go all the way to the bend of the hook, the thread, and I could trim off this extra Zonker. Perfect. That little bit of skin is going to get wrapped up, so it's fine. So now it's silly legs. So I'm going to go ahead and I plucked out, I wanted to get 2, but I got 3. And I'm just going to use them since I plucked it. I'm going to go ahead and put it on the thread as evenly as I can. Then I'm just going to get them right on top, and I'm going to hold them divided, and I'm going to keep them so they land just the way they're supposed to land, just like that. And I'm going to just give them a couple more wraps just to make sure they're nice and hard. Alright, there's your silly legs. So now it's this Polar Chenille. Haven't really decided if I'm going to use 2 colors, but we're definitely going to start with orange. Don't forget, Slick WIlly is now on Instagram. I hope you guys go out and find me on Instagram. Trying to make Instagram grow a little bit, and I'm going to start probably having some Instagram-based contests. So now when I wrap this, I wrap in the same direction as my thread. Gotta try and keep my hand out of the frame. I'm gonna go ahead and use the rotary function, trying to draw back fibers as I go. This is such an easy tie, and the fact that it's so few materials, it's just perfect for beginners. But the best part is that this is a fun fly to fish, and it gets bites. I mean, this is, you know, just a great fly. I think I'm gonna give this a couple of wraps of brown just to give it a little bit, another dimension. So I'm going to go ahead and capture my orange right there. Leaving me enough room to give this a wrap or 2 of the brown. I think the brown and the orange is such an awesome color combo. So that's enough of that. Now I could cut this off. And we can bring in a little brown. Gotta be careful when you're slicking everything back that you don't stab yourself like I almost did right there. I have a couple of fibers going the wrong way, so before I start making wraps, I'm going to go ahead and trim those. They're just easier to trim now. Get my thread out of the way, and again, I don't really want to do a lot of brown. That's 1, 2 wraps. That's plenty. I just wanted to give it a little more pizzazz. And I really think that does that. I can't believe I just said that word. All right, so I can trim that away. So this one, I'm gonna put a weed guard. I haven't put a weed guard on those others, but why not? I like to have options in my box. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a little bit of trimming up on these that are going the wrong way. Sometimes it's easier to trim before you put the next material on. Anything that's still gonna go the wrong way, I'm going to singe off with my lighter. You've seen me do that trick in the past. Okay, weed guard. I have a little bit of hard mono here. I could pick it up. And I'm going to do this one a little different. I'm going to do a double weed guard. So again, I'm going to give it a flat spot like I normally do. With this really cool tool that I picked up in an electrical supply house. So all I'm going to do is come in here and give this a couple of wraps in one direction, and then I'm going to go ahead and give it a couple of wraps in the opposite direction. Then I'm going to make sure that I like the way they're sitting, which I do, and I'm going to just get them in there nice and hard. And I could probably put a couple wraps behind just to make sure that they end up right where I want them. I like that. I like that a lot. They're going to be perfect when they're trimmed. And I'm going to put UV resin on this fly, so that will really lock them in. So now it's a whip finish. I mean, it's a great fly. So few materials. These materials are so inexpensive. I can actually show you. I'm pretty sure they have price tags. And I get that I'm in Sweden, and in Sweden things are more expensive, for sure more expensive than in the States. Every time I go to America, I load up. So one bag of Polar Chenielle cost me recently, this is not old, this is Polar Reflective Flash Chenielle Brown, exactly what it is. It's hairline, and this is 59 crowns, which is about $6, give or take. My dubbing, this is a pretty new package of a Zonker strip, 3mm Zonker strip, shrimp pink, and this is from Fly Dressing, and this one at my local fly shop is about $7. What else did I use? I used some silly legs today. The silly legs, this pack is, I bought this a long time ago. I made a lot of flies with this. It's nearly empty now. And this was $6. So things are a little bit more expensive. Here's one that I bought. This has to have come from the United States, because this is obviously in dollars. It's hairline, but it's $4.50. So you can see that the United States is definitely cheaper. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little UV resin, and then we'll trim these weed guards. The biggest problem I have with materials in Sweden isn't that it's, you know, $1 or $2 more. I tie, so I'm not a commercial tire. So I tie my flies, and I'll spend $1 or $2 more on a pack of material to get what I want. That's just the simple fact. The big problem I have is I can't get in my local fly shop. I just cannot get the saltwater hooks and a lot of the stuff that I want for my saltwater fishing trips. And I like to support my local fly shop. I think it's important that we support our local fly shops. But what am I supposed to do if they don't sell what I'm looking for? You know, they're so focused on trout fishing. Trout and pike. Pike is big here. A lot of people are fly fishing for pike, and that's awesome. It's fun. And what's really kind of cool about the pike is that they eat a lot of the same saltwater flies. People here don't fish the flies that I fish for pike because they don't tie saltwater flies here. I just put it on the correct kind of hook. I'll put it on a 2.0, 3.0 freshwater hook, and away we go. Works great. Alright, I'm going to trim my weed guard just beyond the hook point. Perfect. Love it. Super happy with the way everything turned out. Oh, I gotta trim my silly legs. Silly legs need to get trimmed. Gotta make sure that I don't trim anything wrong here. For silly leg trimming, what I really like to do is I like to hold them together, and I try not to stretch them, because if you stretch them, they're going to end up shorter than what you're hoping for. And I trim them quite long to begin with and see how that turns out. Turned out great. Love the way that turned out. The length is perfect. I don't like it to be longer than my Zonker strip. And the only other thing I'm going to do, like you see me do on a bunch of other flies, is I'm going to trim a little bit of the material that's going to be on the bottom of this hook. And the only reason I'm doing this is it'll help the fly swim a little bit more right side up. Awesome. Very happy with the way this fly turned out. So this fly has got silly legs and it's got some great Zonker strip action. And I think that came out awesome. So there it is. That is a nice looking fly. You know, one thing that I didn't mention that absolutely you should do is take a brush or a comb or a needle in my case and just make sure that nothing is trapped. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to look me up on Instagram. Thank you for watching. I have a contest. It's about to end on the 31st of August. And still time for people to enter. Send a picture, you know, go back and look at that contest fly and you get all the details on how to enter. Good luck catching. Thank you for having a cocktail with me on an awesome Friday night, and see you on the next video.